Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again. It's time to talk about Barbie, but we're also going to talk about Oppenheimer. These are two completely different movies that are riding alongside each other in the box office right now, and a lot of people are talking about both movies for good reason. Now, one thing I will say right off the bat, at the beginning of this video, for those of you who click off very early, I don't know why you do that, but unfortunately, there are people that do that. I'm going to come out and admit that I was fully wrong about Barbie. Barbie is absolutely destroying the box office right now. They are pulling in numbers the likes of which we haven't seen in a while, and it's unfortunate because, again, it's a hardcore feminist Nazi movie, but women are going out there in droves and supporting it, at least for the first time in a long time, because women normally don't do that. The woke people normally don't do that, but this particular video, they're deciding to do it, so kudos to them. I will admit that I was wrong, and it is actually pulling in some amazing numbers. But with that being said, I'm seeing a lot of false equivalencies between Barbie and Oppenheimer. I don't know why these two movies are being compared. It doesn't make any sense to me. The only reason why I would think people would compare the two is because you have two people from two different political sides that are trying to use both movies to try to further their cause. So you have the people on the left who are trying to use Barbie as a means to say, oh, look, wokeness does sell, feminist stuff does sell, look at this, we're destroying the box office. And then you have people who enjoy Oppenheimer, that is considered to be a right side movie for whatever reason. I don't really know why that is, but it's considered to be, and it's not doing as well as Barbie, so they're trying to make that false equivalency without there being an actual reason behind it. But I'm going to go a little bit in depth about my reasoning why I think the two movies should not be compared. So let's get into this article, guys. But of course, before we do, just consider giving this video a like to push us out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing because we're on our way to 25,000 subscribers. Now, we have an article here from Variety with a headline that says box office Barbie opens to record-setting $155 million opener, and Oppenheimer shatters expectations with $80 million debut. It says Barbenheimer is more than just a meme. Over the weekend, moviegoers turned out in force for Greta Gerwig's neon-coded fantasy comedy Barbie, which smashed expectations with $155 million to land the biggest debut of the year. But they also showed up to see Christopher Nolan's R-rated historical drama Oppenheimer, which collected a remarkable $80.5 million in its opening weekend. Now, let's be very clear, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the reason why I don't think this should be compared. Simply put, they have two completely different ratings. Oppenheimer is an R-rated movie. Barbie is a PG-13 rated movie. That level of access already is going to put them at a completely different side of the field. So it doesn't make any sense to compare these two movies. Not only that, Barbie has a namesake, the likes of which is very hard for almost any IP that exists in this world to compare to. Barbie is a name that's been around for generations, ladies and gentlemen. It's been around for decades. There's no way that you can compare the two. Oppenheimer is a standalone film that has come out recently, and it's doing very well for a totally different reason. In my opinion, Barbie is doing very well simply because the namesake is carrying the movie, whereas Oppenheimer is doing very well because people are actually talking about the movie in a positive light. Word of mouth is carrying Oppenheimer successfully, and Barbie's namesake is carrying that movie successfully. It's two different, complete opposite ends of the spectrum, but they both work. So then it says hundreds of ticket buyers refuse to choose between the two seemingly different ulterior-driven blockbusters with sprawling casts and twin release dates, so they opted to attend same-day viewings of Barbie and Oppenheimer, turning the box office battle into a double feature for the ages. I don't think it's a battle, and anybody that considers both movies to be fighting against each other don't genuinely understand what these movies are standing for and where they stand in the overall movie spectrum. So they're not meant to compete. The only reason why people are trying to compare them is, again, they are on the opposite ends of the political spectrum, so they're trying to use these movies for their cause. It says this is unequivocally great weekend for moviegoing, says David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting firm Franchise Entertainment Research. Barbie and Oppenheimer are complementing each other at the box office, not taking audience from each other. That's a huge thing too. The audiences are not going to overlap very much, so I don't really see them being competition for each other. Now, here's the weirdest thing to me about Barbie that I just can't seem to understand, okay? Barbie right now has 65% women viewers, okay? That I understand. I get that. But the thing I don't understand is that there is an insane amount of women on Twitter that are posting themselves literally saying, oh, I'm about to go see Barbie. I know this movie is going to suck. I know it's going to be trash, but I'm going to go see it anyway. It's like, what are you, that doesn't even make any sense. And I really feel like there is a lot of women who contributed to that $155 million opener that otherwise online are saying how much they hate this movie, how much it's a feminist nightmare, how much it does bad for women and talks about the patriarchy and all this other nonsense, and yet they paid money to go see it. They supported the movie. It doesn't make any sense. Why would you do that? That's just crazy to me. It's because they wanted. I really feel like a lot of women who were complaining about this movie online secretly wanted to be part of this movie. They secretly wanted to go watch this movie and get the experience of going to go see Barbie in the theaters, but they didn't want to leave the hate train, so to speak. So they wanted to say online how much it sucked. And after they went and saw it and they said, "Oh yeah, I saw it and it did suck," they still paid for it. So it doesn't matter. Like, these theaters, these studios, they're not going to care. They don't care, because this is what happens. You have people that go out and spend money on certain IPs just because it's that IP, right? It's Barbie. It's the only reason why these women went to go see this movie. If there was another completely opposite, different feminist movie that had nothing to do with Barbie come out recently, guarantee you it would have flopped, because most feminist movies do flop, which is why I thought that Barbie was not going to do very well. And here we are, Barbie's doing fantastic because women who say they hate it are going to go see it anyway. So it just doesn't make any sense to me, the choices that some people are making regarding this movie, but its success is well deserved, and it's going to get notoriety for it. It should. I really do believe that, because as much as I hate to say it, if this was an anti-woke film making this much money, it would be talked about nonstop in our little sphere here on YouTube. So this particular movie is doing fantastic, and it's making a ton of money. Good on them, because they tricked women to go see it. It's just the truth, man. It says audiences and critics dug the PG-13 film, which landed an A cinema score and 90% on Rotten Tomatoes. Initial crowds were 65% female, obviously, but that's notable because it's almost always the inverse for any movie that generates over 100 million in its debut. Among its many records, Barbie also scored the biggest opening weekend ever for a film directed by a woman. Captain Marvel, which was also co-directed by Anna Boden and Ryan Fleck, previously held the title with 153 million in 2019. Wonder Woman, but from a filmmaker, Patty Jenkins, stood as a record holder for a movie solely directed by women with 103 million in 2017. Ladies and gentlemen, Barbie is essentially Black Panther Wakanda Forever, but for white liberal women. Like, it's just, or just women in general, to be honest with you. Like, that's what it is. Women were convinced that in order to maintain their womanhood, they have to go see this movie. It's the same thing with Black people and Black Panther. If you don't go see Black Panther, you're not black. That's essentially the narrative that goes around. So this is the same thing with Barbie, and they convinced a ton of women to go see this movie. Now let's talk about Oppenheimer. So it says Oppenheimer may be settling for second place. Not that Universal or Nolan is complaining. Buoyed by stellar reviews and premium large formats, the biopic about the so-called father of the atomic bomb is wildly outperforming expectations for the 3-hour-long period piece, with little action and lots of talking. Heading into the weekend, analysts were anticipating a 50 million start, which already would have been notable given the grim film subject matter and style. With the bigger than projected debut, Nolan has only solidified his status as a box office draw no matter the genre, and his appeal as filmmaker spans continents. As the international box office, Oppenheimer added 93.7 million for a global tally of $174 million. So ladies and gentlemen, Oppenheimer is doing extremely well in the box office also, but that's because there's a lot of people talking about this movie. There's not too many people talking positively about Barbie, and yet it's doing obscene numbers, and that's because a lot of women are going to go watch it whether they want to admit it or not. Whereas with Oppenheimer, it's a completely separate IP. It doesn't have the namesake that Barbie has, and it's an R-rated movie versus a PG-13 movie. So the audience for this movie is nowhere near as big as Barbie, and yet it's still managing to pull half the amount of money that Barbie is, which in and of itself is pretty impressive for a movie like this. So I do think both of these movies deserve recognition. I do think both of them serve to exist in different spectrums for a reason, and I think we need to keep them separate. The people who are trying to compare these movies in the box office aren't doing either movie justice, and I think it's just false equivalency. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.